In the world of E30 engine swaps, there are a ton of options, but for me, it really came down to about 4 or 5 different ones. You have the K20, the S54, S50, LS1, and the S65. Now, which one of these did I go with? You'll find out a little bit later in this video, but I have the engine in the garage next to the car. Right on the other side of the E30 M3 is the new engine for it. I had a lot of good guesses, a lot of good comments, so thank you all for that. I'm going to reveal it very shortly, and there's also a lot more work that needs done on this car. Suspension, welding, tearing it apart more, and we got to tear into the new engine. This abandoned E30 M3 project is my latest purchase, and in the last video I made sure it was real, not a fake lookalike M3, and then started tearing into the suspension. This car is getting a complete overhaul top to bottom, and that includes a whole bunch of reinforcements, powder coating, welding, and etc. The rear subframe is totally reinforced. I got the rear trailing arms totally reinforced, all the bushings and bearings and everything else removed. It's pretty much completely stripped, but now I got to do the front subframe. The front subframes on these cars are known to be pretty weak, and you'll see in this video that mine shows that for sure. Mine's actually broken. So thanks to Condor Speed Shop, we're going to get that reinforced, and then more importantly, I got to show you the new engine for this car. Comment your guesses now. I didn't realize it until it was out, but this subframe is cracked. Both sides, both engine mount bolt holes are cracked. Now thankfully, I've got a kit to fix this and reinforce it from Condor, but this is a common issue on E30, so I'm really glad I'm taking the time to do this, because it would have been really bad to install this nice new engine I have sitting on the other side of the car, just for it to flop around like a wet noodle. So if you guys didn't know, your subframe shouldn't sound like this. It's rattling, and that's because, well, it's because it's broken. See all that right there? That should not be like that. And this side, if you look as well, while not loose, is also cracking. Solid. Okay, not that kind of solid, obviously. My plan was here to grind these down and then grind into the cracks till they ended, fill the cracks with weld, grind it down flush, and then install the reinforcements. This should make it as strong as possible. Everything was going to plan until my Chicago electric welder was acting up again. I don't know why it's not working. Turns out the switch disconnected itself from the wire inside the handle, so once I figured that out, I got it fixed. But then after that, we ran into yet another problem. What the fuck? Oh, shit. I'm out of wire. Son of a... Thought I had plenty left. So once again, I had to push the currently non-running 911 Turbo back into the garage and wait for the wire to arrive. Alright, an Amazon delivery package later. Got a whole spool of wire. There it is. My first ever welding wire change. I feel like a man now. Those are done. So next up, the sway bar mount reinforcement plates. These should be pretty darn easy. With all the reinforcements done on the E30 suspension, and it was a lot, I can now load it up on the truck and send it off to powder coating, along with the hitch for my truck, which has seen better days. I got everything dropped off at the powder coaters. It's going to take a few weeks, but in the meantime, I'm going to keep working on the suspension, including installing the top hats on these beautiful KW coilovers. And now I could focus my attention on the rear suspension of the car. Speaking of suspension, I have a whole box full of stuff from ECS Tuning and Turner Motorsport. Huge thanks for them for helping out on this build. I've got brake lines and an ultimate rear shock kit. Like, look at these things, beefy. So there's also new control arms in here. There are sway bar bushings, more brake lines, sway bar brackets, and a whole lot more. So huge thanks to ECS and Turner Motorsport. I'm gonna link everything I use from them in the description box. Oh, and I got a differential for it too. I only remember that now because it's underneath the car. It's actually the first time I use this tool. Pretty handy. Oh boy. I grabbed this medium case LSD differential from eBay for a little over $600. It's a 3.46 ratio, which a lot of guys suggested on the Facebook group page. I didn't want something too aggressive, and keep in mind this is going to be paired with a 6-speed manual from an E30 M3. Thankfully, it's LSD, which this car is definitely going to need with the additional power that it's going to have with the new engine. There's some nice brakes. So I've got the rear subframe, front subframe, control arms, all that stuff at the powder coaters right now. Hopefully it's done any day. But I'm not going to use any of this crap in the back. Not the shocks, not the springs, not the subframe that's in here, not these controllers, nothing. So, like the front, I want to strip the entire rear.
Strip the entire rear.
What? What's the problem? Not again. Luckily, these rear shock towers are solid. No rust at all. Obviously not the most ideal way to do it if you care about the stuff, but I don't care about literally any of this crap. It's all trash. Oh boy, this is fun. This is going swimmingly. Uh-oh. Nope. There's no way this isn't getting it. This half-inch Milwaukee has 1,100 pounds of torque, and not just any torque.
Busting torque.
So the fact that that wasn't getting it off was kind of crazy.
Holy crap. That thing's got to be insanely tight.
Well, I got it. Absolutely wonderful.
Now, the subframe should just drop out.
Yeah, it's loose in there.
Ah, haha.
There we go.
Now, the subframe should just drop out, drop out, drop out.
It's moving more freely. Yes! Fucking finally! Freaking about time. Holy crap. Winning. Now, unless you guys convince me otherwise, I believe this entire ensemble here is trash. I don't think there's anything worth saving on here. You know, for something that was only held in with essentially 2 nuts, that was a lot of work to get out. But I'm going to be so satisfied when I get the new parts in there, powder coated, new bushings, everything looking brand new. All right, now that the car has no suspension or subframes on it whatsoever, anywhere, time for me to show you guys the engine and tear it apart, at least a little bit.
All work, no pleasure.
And here it is, one of the greatest BMW engines ever made, at least in my opinion. It is an S54, and I'll go over why I chose this engine specifically in a little bit.
The comparison, y'all know y'all couldn't replicate it. Chilling in the desert, I'm good under pressure. Stick around, let me hold it down. Look at what we found. This a marathon, not a sprint. Let's go 100 miles.
And this is a Facebook Marketplace find. I paid $4,000 from it, and I have receipts showing that it had the Vanos and the rod bearings done. So at least I don't have to mess with that stuff, because we all know how that would probably end up. I know, not a super original choice, but I feel like an S54 and an E30 M3 is nearly perfect. I was really going back and forth between 2 engines. That was this and a K20. K20 would have been completely different. They actually make wiring kits for both. But at the end, I decided to go more traditional BMW route, and I've never owned an S54, so that's cool too. I went with the S54 because it is a BMW engine, it revs high, and it's easy to swap in. I actually already have a lot of parts for it, parts that I was going to use for the white E30. They also make 333 horsepower, which that can be bumped up a little bit, so I think 350 horsepower in a little light E30 is a great number. As most of you know, I've had only bad experiences with S65s. That actually would have been my #1 choice because it's a BMW engine, it's a V8, it sounds amazing, and it revs to 8,000 plus RPM. But their unreliability left a bad taste in my mouth. So I had to actually push the car. Yep, there she went.
Money cylinder, cylinder 3, passenger side.
Yeah, there's the piston and what's rustled. Now, as far as an S50, I have the built S50, and I could put the turbo on it and put it in the E30 M3, but I don't think that's fitting. I don't want it to be a super high horsepower car. I want it to be a nice, reliable daily. And finally, my #1 choice would have been an LS swap if I didn't already have my E36 with the LS1. I don't really want 2 of the same or similar cars. All right, there is the top end. Perhaps didn't have as many oil changes as it should have, or it also could have been sitting for a long time. But all the cam lobes look good. They're not all marred up or anything. These valve cover gaskets are certainly past their prime. They're all hard and crusty. All that's getting replaced. That was the easy part. Now, let's do the not so easy or fun part. I know what you're thinking, Matt, that's a little sketchy. Well, problem is, my other inline 6 BMW engine is on my one and only engine stand, and I don't have room for 2 engine stands in here. This is supposed to go in the white E30. I don't actually know what's gonna happen with that now. So, for now, this guy's just gonna hang out here while I start stripping it down. Obviously, this thing is a little crusty, a little dusty. It's a used engine after all, but I am going to refinish as much of this engine as possible without completely tearing it apart. And from what I gather, this appears to be a stock pressure plate, stock clutch, and stock dual mass flywheel, all in okay condition at best. It's all getting replaced anyway. Okay, one dual mass out of the way. On to the front end. That bearing shot. You can see here the power steering pulley is broken. So basically every single thing on this front end of this car is going to be replaced. That's one way to do it. That thing's really fragile. This pulley sounds like trash as well. The AC compressor certainly seems like it's seen better days, but for now it's fine. I think the alternator is fine. Even I'm going to do a new water pump. I think we're onto the oil pan now. So it just occurred to me there may be a whole bunch of oil still in this pan. And I was about to be in for a heck of a surprise. Yeah, there's a considerable amount in there. At least there's oil in it, so, you know, it wasn't run dry, I hope. Boy, I'm really glad I did that. That would have been an awful mess. And it's already a huge mess. I feel like that's all the bolts. Now that should be it. Oh, there it goes. Oh boy. Hey-oh. Oh my God, I'm making more of a mess. Oh, this is a huge mess. Huge freaking mess. Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, it's out. Yikes. Tearing into my first S54 is certainly a pretty cool experience. I always wanted an E46 M3, but I just never got around to getting one. So I think this is a pretty cool alternative. Now the reason I pulled the oil pan is because I'm going to re-gasket this whole engine, obviously. But you can't use this oil pan in an E30 anyway. You need an E34 M3 oil pan, which I already have. I do want to do some inspecting down here as well, because the guy who I bought this from said that the rod bearings were done. You know my experience with rod bearings? It's not great. It went boom. It was a big boom. Oh no. Taking a look under here, there's no oil in the pickup, so that's good. Everything looks normal down here. You guys tell me, are those ARP rod bolts or are those factory bolts? Because they're 12 pointed like ARP would be, but I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with these engines, but pretty much all looks the same, kind of golden brownish down here. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. The oil pan is clear of debris, metal, and whatnot. Overall, it's about what I expected. No, I'm not going to pull any rod bolts off or end caps because just of the horrific experience that I have with the S65. I do have a receipt, like I said, from the guy I bought this from that said the rod bearings were done. I'm just going to run it. I'm going to run it as is. It spins over nicely. I don't want to fix what's not necessarily broken. This is all looking good, other than the huge mess that I made. Holy crap. What an absolute disaster. I don't know whose idea this was. What a terrible idea. I don't have any kitty litter. I don't have anything to suck all this crap up. Just a bunch of old crappy rags. That's good enough for now. Well, future Matt can deal with this later.